The guy is sleeping peacefully, in a quiet and peaceful atmosphere. It seems that nothing portends trouble. Suddenly, a book falls from the shelf on the main character and disturbs his sleep. The guy gets up in bewilderment. He has not yet understood what disturbed his rest. Suddenly, the main character sits up in his bed. There is a mirror opposite the bed, and he looks into it. The guy is horrified by what he sees in the mirror. He doesn't understand why another person is looking at him on the other side. The main character remembers that recently he was a young archaeologist, and now he looks like an ordinary high school student. The guy finds two books near him that he had not seen before. He wonders what they could be about, because he has never seen such books before. The main character discovers another book. The main character decides to pick it up in order to take a better look at the book, but suddenly he gets an electric shock. The guy sees many different events and memories from the life of the previous owner of the body. The main character looks out the window and does not see species familiar to him, and realizes that he is not on Earth, but on a planet called Blue Star. On this planet, everything is completely different from the usual Earth. Here, everything has the opportunity to become an extraordinary being and awaken higher wisdom. The character flies on a huge bird. People on the planet Blue Star also have outstanding abilities, and this is the ability to control animals. A man develops his brain through meditation, which will subsequently help him tame and control divine beasts. The character stands in front of the animals he has tamed. Thanks to the ability to control them, people were able to create a civilization called the Age of Animal Control. The girl sits on a luxurious chair, surrounded by animals subservient to her. The character flies on a large electric stingray straight towards frightened people, because the strongest of supernatural animals often attack people. The guy realizes that everything he knows about animals and their abilities is in the memory of a boy named John, although the archaeologist himself has the same name. The boy's father and mother, who will never wake up, lie surrounded by angry animals and debris. The archaeologist, who finds himself in the body of a boy, realizes that the world into which he ended up due to unknown circumstances is not much better than on Earth. The guy realizes that he is no longer the same person he was before, so he goes to the scanner and opens his case plan. The main character discovers a huge amount of advertising on the screen and is very surprised by this. John closes all the advertisements that appeared earlier on the screen and sees a full-fledged plan, realizing at the same time that he is now an ordinary breeder trainee at an animal breeding base. The guy takes a book teaching him how to work. He works part-time at an animal breeding base only to become an animal master. The main character realizes that there are a lot of problems in his life. Loans, a low standard of living, a difficult family situation. John thinks that first he needs to finish his plans for the day. The guy remembers that snow wolves are gregarious and extremely dangerous carnivorous predators. He is not sure whether he can cope with feeding from alone. The main character is confident that this will not be a problem because he has an innate talent, telepathy. The boy stands surrounded by animals because he knows how to contact all creatures. This skill is useless in battle, but nevertheless very important. Since John has the ability to talk to animals, feeding the snow wolves will not be a problem for him. Suddenly, the guy touches the magic cube to try to get to know the system better. The main character finds himself in a space unknown to him and flies in the sky. Suddenly, the boy sees a book in this space and realizes that this is his second special skill. The talent reference book is now unlocked for John. The guy realizes that people can awaken certain talents when activating space, which are divided into strengthening and specialization in a ratio of 9:1. People with the enhancement type can enhance certain types of beasts. This is a typical example of combat talent. Specialization skills are much more complex and varied than enhancement skills. John's innate talent for telepathy is one of the most common specializations, although it is not particularly powerful, but you can easily find work with it. Now the main character gets another skill. He will be able to copy and record the abilities of supernatural beasts, and then the abilities included in this book can be taught to other animals. This does not apply to people. In order to successfully copy the abilities of animals, you need to meet certain conditions. See how the animal uses its abilities, physically touch it, and the gap between the first two conditions should not be more than an hour. There is also the ability to copy and accumulate skills. If the main character wants to teach certain skills to the beast, then depending on the level of skills, it is necessary to expend a certain physical strength during training. John needs to take into account that a certain animal by nature has a certain level compatible with one or another skill. The guy thinks the talent of recording and accumulating skills is something to be envied. John continues to read the book and learns that the power of a beastmaster depends not only on the abilities of the beast, but also on the development of talents and skills, the rarity of a particular skill, and progress. The main character closes the book and thinks that now with this book, he can collect the rarest talents. The guy also thinks that two skills can only benefit him. although in the memory of the former owner, there is no mention of two talents. John does not believe that if this happened, then it should be possible. Like someone who has found himself in another world, he is definitely not an ordinary person. The main character thinks that the previous John from this world had the skill of telepathy, and he has the talent of copying, and ultimately comes to the conclusion that this simply needs to be taken for granted as compensation for being in this world. Suddenly, the ball awakens. The main character pays attention to it, but realizing that he is late for work, he leaves home. The guy drives a special work car in search of food to feed the snow wolves. John finds pieces of fresh meat and admires them, saying that these animals eat better than people. On the way to the wolves, the main character meets 3 more workers who ask him if he is going to go feed the snow wolves. They warn the guy that the animals are not very friendly and ask him to be careful. John's colleagues offer to help, but he refuses. The guy continues on his way, thinking that he has no memories of him. John reflects that most likely because of what the owner of the body had to go through, he likes loneliness and is not particularly sociable, which is why he was unable to make friends at work. The hero decides that first he needs to get to know this world better, and then begin to establish interpersonal relationships. In the meantime, he already arrives at the place. Unnoticed by the guy himself, the angry wolves have already paid attention to him and are preparing to attack. At some point, he turns around and notices that a flock of animals has already approached him, grinning and looking menacingly. The wolves tell John that he is late and they are hungry to death. Now the guy is in great danger. The guy is very afraid and already regrets that he came to this job. He hopes that the Wolf King will save him. And then the Wolf King appears out of nowhere, pushing the wolves from his pack in different directions, thereby saving the poor boy. The proud, stately, handsome Wolf King heads towards John. The king approaches the frightened and not understanding hero. He touches the guy's forehead with his nose. Suddenly, a directory appears, flying out of the guy's clothes. He doesn't understand why it appeared right now. It turns out that the skill of the King of Wolves, namely restraint, is now written down in his handbook, and now John will be able to teach this to any supernatural beast that has the makings of it. The main character is very happy that now he will be able to use this talent of the Wolf King. He is glad that he has the powerful gift of controlling animals. The Wolf King approaches the guy, and he, using his telepathy skill, understands what the wolf is telling him. John is glad that now he is not in danger, because the mark of the King of Wolves is working, and the rest of the pack has become more obedient towards him. While petting one wolf from the pack, the hero realizes that he can now teach him the skill of restraint received from the King of Wolves. Now he can create a King of Wolves with his own hands. John realizes that if he acts rashly, problems could arise. The hero continues to work, although he is a little disappointed that he will not be able to copy the skills of other wolves, because they also have talents characteristic of their race. The guy drives home peacefully, thinking that having a top-level skill in his reference book is incredible luck. Suddenly, a green eagle appears in the sky, which can be trained to contain the skill. It turns out that you can create not only a wolf king, but also a bird king. John thinks that if it weren't for work, he would probably do this, but the working day is not over yet. Everything has its time. The hero sees a panda on a billboard, realizing that this particular animal was chosen by the former owner of this body. On planet Blue Star, the panda race was completely formed, so they only have the ability of solidification. John thinks that pandas are quite lazy, but a deposit has already been paid, and this is a good offer. As a result, the new owner of the body agrees that the predecessor's choice was a good one. Unfortunately, pandas have limitations on the development of their race and skills. As well as benefits, the hero thinks he can handle it. It dawns on the guy that pandas can be used to mine minerals and use their skill, as well as John's recently acquired talent of containment, after which he can add skills from the category of acceleration and perception. The main character is happy that he came up with such a combination. Perhaps his panda can become the king of pandas. But suddenly the guy realizes that only those who have a breeder's certificate and have completed an internship can take out a loan. The hero is briefly upset because he can pick up his panda cub only after completing practice, because in this matter, you need to be savvy in all aspects. John returns to work, hoping that he will be able to copy his new skills. After some time, the guy finds himself undergoing training in observing and recording observations of silkworms, which requires maximum concentration. If he does not complete the task, he will be left alone with 1,000 silkworms. Looking at the insects, John thinks that individually they are too weak, but they have room to grow and all the conditions have been created for this. The hero uses the telepathy skill and laughs at the small silkworms, not expecting that such creatures could cause him any harm. The insects pay attention to this, some are offended, and some look at him angrily. Suddenly, they create projectiles of silk and spray them on the guy's face at incredible speed. The hero, in bewilderment, thinks that at least this is harmless to himself. While holding one of the silkworms on his finger, John learns that it can be taught the skill of restraint. The guy is very surprised by this, since he could not even think that silkworms could be compatible with this talent. A new skill called silk bindings is recorded in the book. John sees that this skill cannot be taught to anyone, is a little disappointed by this, but reassures himself that at least it is a skill. In the reference book, the hero learns that this skill can be retaught to a silkworm who has already mastered it. He also learns that repeating a skill increases his proficiency. The guy is worried and strongly doubts that he will be able to pull this off next to a bunch of people. Returning home, John sits down at his laptop and begins to study the types and abilities of the animals raised at the animal breeding base. Unfortunately, no animal has the skills it needs. The hero believes that the awakened skills of the animals raised here are of too low a level and are not worth copying. The guy doesn't know if there is a limit to how many skills he can copy, but he clearly only needs to focus on mid to high level copying. Suddenly it dawns on the guy that at the base you can find not only animals, but also many animal masters. Full of confidence, John begins to look for the information he needs. The hero goes outside in search of the healing skill he needs. The guy feigns pain, tells the doctor that he sprained his wrist, pretending to be sick. The hero approaches the doctor, who thinks that this trainee has barely graduated from school, because they are usually the ones who are most often injured. The girl calms John down and says that she will cure everything now. Sitting in his place, the doctor begins to use his healing ability. The guy admires her skills and is happy that he can get him for his own purposes. The doctor says that everything will be ready very soon, asks not to worry, and guarantees that the pain will go away. The main character gains a new skill called fast healing. The girl tells John that now everything should be in order and reports that the dandelions informed her about the insignificance of this injury. The guy says that next time he will be more careful. The hero thinks that by coming to the doctor under the pretext of an injury in order to copy her abilities, he actually wasted her time. He decides that tomorrow he will buy some treats that plant pets like and thank them. Already at home, the guy examines his hand and reflects that despite the minor injury, the girl still used the power of her pet, because this is an opportunity to improve the skill of the skill. To improve your skill, you can also use John's reference book. This ability can be considered an alternative method of accelerating training for pets. The main character lies in his bed, thinking that the doctor is a trainee master, and when his abilities reach a certain level, then he can take part in certification, according to the results of which he can raise his rank to a professional beastmaster. John doesn't know how long it will take him with 2 skills to become a professional beastmaster. 3 months later, the limit of abilities recorded in the reference book was exhausted, and the guy is glad that he did not rush and copy low-level skills. The hero finds the skill of foresight from the highest-ranking birds that patrol the territory in the skies above the base. The next skill, called absolute sleep, was obtained from one animal of the breeder from the base, the sleep demon. This ability helps the beast enter a deep sleep phase. The ability is considered restorative. John believes that these 2 skills will save you mountains of gold in the future. The guy sits in his room, hoping that the panda can understand him, because now they are too weak. He of course assumed that copying skills has its limit, but 5 is very little. The main character again finds himself in an empty space, where he discovered his second skill, suggesting that adding pages may depend on new specific abilities. You need to increase the level of the Beastmaster. A Beastmaster can increase his level through meditative practices. He needs to continuously strengthen, change, and expand the beast management space. The more stable the beast management space, the more possible it becomes to hire higher-ranking beasts. The better the internal atmosphere of the space, the faster the development of the beast, the larger the scale of the space, the more animals can be concluded with a contract. Each beast lord himself decides in which direction to move. John has a goal to become a professional beastmaster within a year. The main character goes by bus to the panda breeding base. The country in which the guy is now is one of the most ancient states and is often called the brilliant or dazzling East. The bus continues its journey through beautiful scenery. This city is of the second rank. Pandas are a common pet not only in this city, but throughout China. Now that John has arrived at the panda breeding base, he will be able to pick up the animal he had reserved in advance. He runs towards his pet. The hero has been waiting for this for so long and preparing for this meeting. Tired, John breathes heavily and complains that the stairs were very long. He says that he does not find it surprising why there are so few people here. Suddenly, something interrupts his thoughts, and the hero looks up at something standing in front of him. This is a huge panda. Apparently, the guy didn't expect to see this at all. The beast is so huge that it could easily crush a guy so small in comparison with him. The panda approaches John and, rubbing his hands, greets him. The animal tells the hero that he is an employee of this base. Panda asks John not to worry because it's just a suit, but the guy doesn't understand how he can wear a suit in such heat. The man in the suit explains that this is necessary in order to better understand and feel the mood of the pandas, because if you want to raise a strong panda, you must fully understand it. This is the basic skill of any breeder. Panda Man praises John for understanding him, and he in turn finally manages to hear a woman's voice under the suit. The hero reports that he is still only a beginner, and he is far from being the teacher Nicholas. A girl in a suit hugs a guy and says that this method is available to everyone and also offers to buy 2 suits at a good discount. It turns out that he is a teacher and calls his new beast. Panda offers to go inside to quickly pick up a new animal for John from the base. Apparently, inside the girl can finally relax and take a little break from her costume. A long-haired girl in a cute sweater with a panda appears in front of the guy. John thinks that she probably loves pandas too much and hopes that the girl won't sell him this sweater too. The guys reach the reception, where the girl informs the hero that all the materials are located right here. The panda lover tells the guy that today you can get a panda, which he is certainly very happy about. He asks if he can go and choose it. The girl reports that the guy came too late and there is only one panda left. The panda is a little problematic, and the hero thinks he has been left in the cold. The guys walk through the panda breeding base, watching the beautiful views. On the way, they meet many calmly resting and relaxing pandas. John is touched by this and thinks that they are really very passive, as he imagined. The girl interrupts the hero's thoughts and says that the adults are very calm this season, but the little ones are a little more lively. The guy looks with delight at the little panda he meets on the way. She looks at the guys with disbelief, not yet understanding what awaits her. The guys go down the stairs closer to the panda. At the same time, the hero says that the panda looks pretty normal. Unexpectedly for everyone, the animal hits the tree with its head, and then the guy takes his words back. The little panda does a somersault and lands on the ground. The girl tells John that the birth of this creature was not easy. Therefore, it is physically weaker than others. It has not yet managed to awaken its abilities. The later an animal awakens its power, the less inclined it is to master any skill. It is not particularly talented, so it kept itself apart from the rest. All these factors influence the formation of his temperament. The girl explains that pandas are generally not very conflicted. What he did now, namely hitting his head on a tree, is training physical strength. This panda is very disciplined and constantly trains to awaken his strength as soon as possible. This is a special case, because the panda has a dream and is not lazy. The guy admires the beast, says that he is very hardworking and purposeful, although he does not have any talents. The girl tries to calm John down, saying that the panda is just developing slower than the others, and you can work with him. A panda lover says that such a diligent animal of this species is very rare. The attendant also says that this panda has a very poor sleep pattern and does not eat well. In order to start training, you must first correct this. No matter what, John agrees to take the animal with him. He believes that diligence and character are what is needed, because he does not want a passive animal who will only eat and sleep. The girl clarifies whether he is sure, because talent is very important for beast lords. The guy is not outraged, because he is very admired by such dedication and hard work. He thinks that they can become friends, after which he asks if there will be a discount. The girl explains that they treat all their caretakers equally, so there will be no discount, but on top of that, she will give the hero a month's supply of bamboo. The guy is very happy about this news and thanks her. The girl approaches the panda, talking about him being taken away, and asks if he is happy. With the help of his telepathy talent, John understands that the panda is saying that he will never become a slave and that he himself will become stronger. She shouts that pandas are not afraid of anything and they do not need overlords. The girl calmly takes the animal in her arms, and the guy, looking from the side, understands that it definitely has character. The panda lover talks to the beast, explaining that if he tries to escape, he will have nothing to eat, and the master of the beasts will help him become stronger, and the issue with the unawakened power will be resolved. She also says that living conditions are more comfortable there. There is a lot of tasty food. Everything for a happy life. The panda agrees to this, telling the guy that he has no shelter and food. John looks at his new beast and thinks that he will definitely provide it with this. But when the money appears, the panda rejoices at this and tells the main character that pandas will never be slaves unless they provide housing and food. The girl is glad that everything is fine and the panda is in good hands. John looks at his beast and thinks that once he becomes a great master of beasts, he will have everything he wants. The panda looks at the guy friendly. The hero must be sure that his animal will also work hard. John asks the girl if they can sign the contract now. She tells him to go and she will take care of the rest. The guy begins to cast a spell and thinks that the other overlords were not interested in this panda because she had no talent. But he has a different opinion about this. Deficiencies in talent can be corrected in the space of the Beastmaster. There have already been such cases. The panda's talent is now many times better because she has perseverance and hard work. She just wants to be recognized. During John's witchcraft, the girl calms the beast and asks him not to resist. The guy is sure that the panda, which all his relatives and overlords disdained, will definitely become stronger with him. The hero hopes that the animal will have a better future. John says that he is more tired than he expected, as if all the juice had been squeezed out of him. He suddenly feels some kind of heat, but quickly realizes that it is due to his acquired instant recovery ability. The girl congratulates the main character on concluding a contract with the panda, but advises him to first let her get comfortable in the space and not call her too often. She says that if the panda can quickly get used to the prevailing atmosphere in the space, then its abilities should awaken within a week. John sees that the directory now records the discovery of a new contact with a pet. The physical characteristics of the Beastmaster have been improved, and now more skills can be recorded. The hero understands that he will be able to use part of the power of his pets, which is why the girl managed to suppress the panda. Although the animal is weak, it will still be able to offer the guy something. The panda lover excitedly asks John if he is okay. He replies that everything is fine. It's just that his body has undergone 2 drastic changes. She reassures him, saying that at first everything will be unusual, but then it will become the norm. Returning to her duties, the girl informs him that he needs to fill out documentation and explains how to feed the panda. The girl also says that when supplies run out, John can always come to her for a new portion, but this, of course, will no longer be free. The guy says that he has one more small request, and the girl looks at him with incomprehension. John asks if he can come to the panda breeding base in order to raise his animal properly. He wants to know more about the natural habitat. The girl replies that he can do this and take the panda with him. After all, this is his home. But the food still won't be free, and the guy thinks that nothing will work out just like that. But he could get the ability. The guy feeds his panda and thinks that he needs to quickly return home and teach his animal a skill. Back home, John inspects the space in his house and thinks it would be a good training ground. The guy calls his panda and asks him to help him clean up. The panda appears in the backyard of the house and walks friendly towards the hero. John strokes his pet and he in turn smiles contentedly and does not resist it. The hero is touched by this and decides that he doesn't need help. He will clean everything up himself. The guy, sitting opposite his panda, tells his pet that he is now teaching him the hardening skill inherent in pandas. The beast manages to awaken the ability of hardening the first time. The guy is very happy about this, thinking that in order to awaken her, the beast just needed to sleep well. He strokes her, saying that the girl from the animal breeding base convinced him that it would take a week. But thanks to the function of space, the ability to grow and develop, everything went incredibly quickly. John invites the pet to go clean up the yard, because that's what he called him for in the first place. He doesn't understand what we're talking about and looks at the hero in bewilderment. The guy gets upset and says that he probably needs to try to train the panda again. John opens his book and explains that it will take at least about a month of intense training to take a skill from beginner to advanced. If you use the skill training guide, it will take several days to reach this level. Since this is a very energy-intensive process, the guy decides to test it on the green silkworm's most useless skill. Unfortunately, John doesn't succeed because this skill is incompatible with pandas. The guy is looking for where he can find someone to test this skill on. Suddenly, he notices a green silkworm on a branch and realizes that he needs to catch it as soon as possible. John points out to the panda that he needs to catch him. He says that he needs to be serious, because this is the first battle after awakening his abilities. The panda looks purposefully towards the target he needs. The animal rushes towards the tree where the green silkworm sits. It quickly gets to its target, confident in its movements and actions. The panda swings and takes away the green silkworm sitting calmly on a branch. John is happy that his pet succeeded and praises him. The beast releases the silkworm from its clutches onto the ground, and he and John stand ominously over the small insect. The guy only has one chance to teach him a new skill. He can't miss out on such a great example. The hero pounces on the silkworm and covers it with his hands, fearing that it will run away. And the panda sits on the ground and looks at the guy's actions in bewilderment. John is holding a small insect in his hands, and his pet is standing behind him and watching with interest what is happening. The silkworm shoots a stream of silk at the guy to protect himself from the attack. It's not so easy to escape from the guy because he spent 3 months on an internship and knows how to catch silkworms best of all. John talks to the insect and asks him to be calm, threatening that he will feed it to the panda. The animal is drooling. He hopes that it is edible because everything he loves in life is there. The hero sees that the silkworm can be taught a skill, thereby raising its performance. And then, the guy opens the manual and begins to teach the silkworm the necessary skills in order to see what happens. During the process of magic, The insect with all its appearance asks for help. It was not ready for this. John sees that the silkworm is exhausted by all this. The panda does not understand what is happening and stands with his mouth open. Suddenly, the guy feels tired and hungry. Despite his condition, he discovers something that catches his attention. The silkworm has another pattern on its back. The hero still doesn't know if everything went well. At this moment, the experience of using the multiplication skill in the silkworm's mind, he immediately felt stronger. Suddenly, the insect jumps out of John's hands, but he does not have time to react. The silkworm attacks, wrapping the tenacious material tightly around his arms. John notices that the silk threads are much stronger and stronger than last time. The main character breaks the threads with his hands. The silkworm cannot inflict enough damage on John due to the difference in size and strength. The guy approaches the insect and tries to calm it down, saying that everything is fine. He doesn't know whether it is possible to say that his skill has increased to the level of a trained one. John thinks that the quality of the threads of this silkworm is the same as the quality of the threads of the silkworms raised in the base and fed on spiritual herbs. Perhaps the cultivation rank is different, but the skill level is definitely high. In addition to developing the skill level, it is necessary to increase the development rank. Perhaps the green silkworms have a deeper understanding of racial skills, which leads to an increase in their strength and the second awakening of the skill. When John teaches skills, he gives away some of the power, however. The guy is glad that the experiment was a success, as a result of which the consumption of physical energy is acceptable. Opening his reference book, the hero realizes that next time he will be able to train the animal only after 8 hours. This is quite normal, because if he abuses animal skill training, then his body will be exhausted. If he wants to use the capabilities of this reference book, then he needs to become stronger. John examines the silkworm in the cage and continues to think about what he learned today. He knows how long it will take him to teach his pet more serious skills. The guy suggests that perhaps there are some products for accelerated recovery. Perhaps you won't have to wait for the skill to reboot, since there are special drugs for animals. Then there should also be for overlords. The main character tells the panda that he will cook chopped pork with young bamboo shoots and white rice for dinner. John invites the pet to rest while he prepares dinner, and when everything is ready, he will call the animal to the table. The animal wonders how it can rest when it has finally awakened its ability. Panda tells John that he is already far behind his peers and wants to train right now. The guy's pet goes berserk. The girl from the base was definitely right when she said that he has some problems. The hero allows the panda to practice in the yard himself, which he is certainly very happy about. The guy warns the beast that the backyard of his house does not yet have the equipment necessary for training. John suggests practicing activating, holding, and blocking the hardening. He tells the pet to try to hone the skill and also use it on a specific part of his body. Panda agrees and says that he will do everything John asked. The guy knows that the panda again wants to bang his head not against a tree, but against a wall. She just came here, but already wants to destroy everything. Discipline is good, but everything should be a little different, so the hero needs to find a way to earn money to buy the necessary equipment. John can breed green silkworms, and if the quality of the silk they produce is high enough, then the products made from it can be sold at a good price. But you need to have time to combine work with the silkworm and the panda. The guy thinks that when his skill level increases, the quality of the silk will be even better, and then a bunch of silk threads will be able to cover all the financial needs of the family. The hero is very tired. The panda also did a good job, and is already fast asleep when John returns to his room. John knows that the pet does not like to eat before training, but even after eating it continues to work hard. While the panda is sleeping sweetly, the guy promises the panda that he will never leave him, no matter what. The main character returns the animal to the space of the master of beasts. Lying in bed, John realizes that he has never slept cuddling with a panda and regrets sending him into his space. In the morning, the green silkworm shoots its silk web and picks up green leaves from the ground into its cage. While no one is there, the insect has breakfast with fresh and sweet leaves. Suddenly, John abruptly comes out of the house, shouting throughout the yard, which greatly frightens the silkworm. The guy opens his reference book and sees that the recovery time has passed, and now he can successfully teach skills. Today, the hero plans to teach his pet the hardening skill, but before that, he wants to check something. John tells his pet that he needs to go shopping, and then he will return for the animal and release it. The guy good-naturedly approaches the cage with the green silkworm, remembering that he forgot to say hello, and waves his hand. John notices that the insect used its skill to reach the leaves. While going shopping, the guy thinks about his new friend, because he is also a little strange. Other silkworms strive to eat as many nutritious plants as possible in order to grow and develop. But this one doesn't care. He just eats leaves and doesn't care about anything. The guy decides that on the way home, he will pick more leaves to diversify the diet of his silkworm. Unfortunately, John cannot afford spiritual herbs, but other plants must also have a lot of nutrients. He will not allow someone who will produce excellent silk for him in the future to starve. Going out onto a busy street, the hero notices that everything there has changed a lot. He notices a man riding a cart pulled by snow wolves. The guy looks at this with his mouth open, thinking that this is good concern for the environment, even though the animals are used for other purposes. John turns around and sees a cat running towards him. The cat runs away from its owner, who runs after her and asks her to stop. The guy looks at them in bewilderment. Pets are usually more disciplined. Cats like the one the guy met usually don't get contracts. The pupil ability of a gem cat can be activated by various gems, with the help of which they evolve. But now the prices for gems are much higher than the prices for the cats themselves. Without a gem, a cat can only be a simple pet. But a cat with an activated ability is an excellent fighter. Finally, John reaches his desired store with tonic drinks. A nice salesgirl asks the guy if he needs help finding what he came for. The hero asks if he can sell silk in this store, to which the girl replies that there are certain nutritional requirements for the silkworm that produces silk. Once they are convinced of the high quality of the silk, they will be able to take it for sale. The girl hands over the booklet, saying that everything is written in it about the topic that interests the guy. John sees the prices for silk in the booklet and understands that he can earn a lot of money from this and live comfortably, and also promises himself that if he does not become a master of the beasts within a year, he will go to work at the base to support the development of the panda. Selling silk is the right thing to do. You just need to bring the quality of the material produced to the ideal, and then the guy will be able to cover all the costs of training and developing the panda. The seller clarifies whether John wants to sell silk, to which he replies that not yet, and asks to break 2 bottles of tonic. A guy comes out of a store with a huge package, holding a heavy bag on his shoulder. John understands that living without a phone is quite problematic, because he couldn't even pay for a bus ticket. He decides that as soon as he has money, he will definitely buy himself a phone. Arriving home, the guy puts all his purchases on the table. The first thing he bought were capsules of the spirits of light. They are made from different varieties of plants that are beneficial to living beings. These capsules eliminate fatigue and strengthen the body. They allow a person to bounce back and feel invigorated. They are said to be quite effective. Many beastmasters like to use them after a battle. John cannot afford to eat these capsules like candy, but with this drug he will be able to minimize the stress on his body when training animals. The guy waves his hands and calls his pet for training. The panda appears in front of the guy. She looks much more cheerful than the last time they saw each other. The pet is motivated to exercise. He wants to go to training, and the training will last 6 hours. John stops the panda and reminds him that there must be a balance between work and rest. The beast absorbs a lot of energy from the master's space. Most of it is John's energy. The guy reasons that he needs to think about improving the space, but on the other hand, he should use the directory. John restores his strength with the help of absolute sleep, which he will teach the panda now. But for now, he suggests practicing the hardening skill. The main character touches the panda's head and calls for a reference book in order to begin training. The green silkworm looks at all this from the outside. He does not understand what will happen now. The guy is very exhausted when training his pet. It is much more difficult for him than training a silkworm. John thought he was going to faint from fatigue, but he has a tonic he bought this morning. He drinks 1 capsule and immediately feels relief. He feels much better than before. The hero pays attention to the panda and looks in his direction with a little fear. The animal glows and smiles at the guy. Confidence is visible in his eyes. Suddenly, the panda raises his fist up and uses the solidification ability in his paw. Suddenly, she swings with all her might and smashes the asphalt into crumbs. John is shocked by what he sees. He does not understand how this happened and why the panda did it. The beast himself was very surprised by his abilities. He suddenly became very strong. The hero explains to his pet that his hardening skill is at the level of a trained one, and that after this the strength will double. Panda is very happy about this, because at the base he could not achieve such results even with hard training. John asks his pet if he still wants to start training. Then the guy tells the panda to return all his abilities, because all this is thanks to his energy. The animal resists this and refuses, offering to leave everything as it is. Even if this level of skill is not the merit of the beast, he knows how to compensate for it. As punishment, the panda offers to train for 24 hours and not sleep at night, and John does not understand how he can be so disciplined. The guy agrees to a 24-hour training. He says that this is not just training, but training to death. The panda is training hard while the hero sits on the porch of the house and thinks, holding a reference book in his hands. Although the stamina consumption is approximately the same, the recovery time this time is much longer, namely a day. The pet's skill has reached a trained level. It has become much more resilient and has better control over what is happening. The The panda can now activate the hardening ability for half a minute, and the skill's cancel speed has also increased. Now the main thing is to increase the speed of using the skill, and at the same time, learn to harden a specific part of the body. If the panda masters this, then in battle, he will have both offensive weapons and defense. While the animal is training, John thinks that this house and site are too fragile and will not withstand such an onslaught. For further hardening training, special equipment is required. The guy believes that the panda is really training hard, and the energy consumption in the Beastmaster space has also increased. Strength determines control over the beast in the master's space. This is important for those Beastmasters who raise wild, strong beasts. Volume, namely how many pets an overlord can enter into a contract with, is an important point for those overlords who prefer fighting in groups. The environment determines the efficiency of nutrition, growth, and development of combat skills. The better the environment, the faster the pet grows. The hero walks down the street and continues to think about space. The environment is most important to him. John concludes that creating a favorable environment for the panda to grow and develop is a priority. When absolute sleep appears in the guy's space, the panda will be able to train as much as he wants without putting stress on his body. Then all he can do is eat well. The hero continues on his way. He is worried that he will not have enough money to buy food for the panda. He is sure that it is worth it for his little panda to grow and develop. John sits on the floor and casts a spell, holding a glass in his hands. The transformation of space is almost complete. After the transformation is completed, the panda will live in a renovated house. The pet is still as productive and disciplined as always. Tomorrow, John plans to train on the intensity of hardening. The next day in the morning, someone knocks on the door of the house, and the main character runs to the door. It turned out that it was a courier who brought steel plates. The guy sees off the couriers and loaders, waving his hand at them. John calls the panda to test the new steel plates. John feels something strange. Before, when he summoned his pet, this did not happen. The panda appears in front of him wearing a red scarf around his neck. This is the fourth awakening transformation. The guy smiles and looks at his beast happily. Improving the environment was a good idea. Now she is one step closer to becoming a professional beastmaster. The main character is happy about what happened and promises to give the panda a good festive dinner. John tells his pet that he bought new equipment for their training, because during their training the panda cannot break everything around him that he wants. Suddenly the animal turns around and the guy asks if he wants John to hit him with something harder. The hero shows the panda the plates he bought and says that now the panda can fight about them as much as he wants, because he does not allow the yard to be destroyed. The guy talks about how the pet can put these plates in several layers if he thinks that the training is not effective enough. John also talks about how the planet can also help with gravity, so the panda can jump from a tree. The main character points his finger at the roof of the house and says that this could be an alternative to wood. The guy hits his palm with his fist and says that the panda needs to use the hardening skill and jump. John calls this drop training. It is more effective than hitting a panda with a club. When the animal can jump from the heights of the clouds and remain intact, then the food will be equal. The pet hugs the owner's leg and says that John is a genius, because the panda himself could never have thought of this. A green silkworm sits calmly and eats leaves in its cage. Suddenly, something greatly frightens him, and there can no longer be any food in his thoughts. The panda flies at great speed into the metal plate, hitting them with his hand with a loud crash and incredible force. The slab breaks in half, and the beast stands as if nothing had happened. He is very pleased with himself. At some point, the panda notices a scratch on his paw. This should not have happened. The animal uses the speed healing skill, and now everything becomes as before. The panda takes another metal plate and continues his training. John sits inside the house and listens to the rumble coming from the yard. The panda's tempering skill has already reached the expert level. The guy thinks these platinums are a great help in hardening training. It is also a great food for pandas as they are able to digest iron. The silkworm's skills have also increased greatly. The strength of its threads can be compared to the strength of fishing line. The green silkworm is happy with its life. Its improvement has a great future. Thanks to the purchased medications, John actively trained both the panda and the silkworm for 10 days. Every time after using the reference book, the hero feels tired. But as soon as he refreshes himself, he feels better. Fatigue is very similar to fatigue after physical activity. The pet has awakened 5 times and can now temper any part of the body at will. The silkworm reached the trained level and awakened 4 times. John decided it was time to evaluate the results. The guy runs out of the house and shouts to the panda to finish training, eat well after lunch and rest, because they are going to fight for real. The panda bends part of the slab he broke. He cannot believe that the time has come for a real battle. For a pet to grow and develop, certain conditions are necessary, namely nutrition, training, and battles. For John and the beast, what is important now is not deadly training, but a battle with an equal opponent with certain rules and in a good place. The guy and the panda will not be able to go to establishments that do not inspire confidence and where animals can be harmed. With the directory, there is an excellent opportunity to constantly develop. To become a professional beastmaster, in addition to the general and practical certification, you must also pass the field survival exam. Previously, John did not particularly care about this, but now he needs experience in this area. The guy decides to take part in competitions organized by the Association of Beastmasters. It is better to turn to professionals. The hero enters a huge room. He approaches the information desk and asks to explain to him how battles work. The girl begins to tell that their arena provides platforms for battles. You can choose either a specific battle, which involves a battle agreed upon with your opponent. In order to take part in a random battle, you must provide basic information, and then the organization will randomly select an opponent. Opponents in random battles are matched to the pet's level. After everything has been said, the girl says the amount needed to pay for the person, which the guy is very surprised by. John is indignant because it is very expensive, and he himself could eat for 3 days with this money. The girl explains that the price includes all maintenance areas and medical expenses, so this is a standard price, and in some places it can be even more expensive. And then she remembers that there are bets. The losing party pays all expenses for using the site, not only for itself, but also for the winner. John is happy about this, because if he and the panda win, they won't have to pay anything. The guy quickly selects the level he needs and places a bet. The hero is confident that even if the enemy is a top-level beast, they will not lose. The girl pushes a piece of paper with a pen towards the guy and asks him to fill out the form. John, maddened by the desire to make as much money as possible, asks if there is any way to place more bets in order to take advantage of all the opportunities. The girl replies that this is not within the scope of their organization. She hands the hero a piece of paper with a number and asks him to wait in the hall. As soon as the enemy is selected, John's name will be displayed on the screen. The hero steps aside. A blue-haired guy stood next to him, also signing a form to participate in the battle. This guy steps aside with his ice crocodile. They are carrying many boxes in their hands. He believes that his classmates are too weak to even slightly doubt the outcome of the battle. The guy says that he is the best and will never lose. After some time, John is called to the battleground at number 11. The blue-haired guy is also called to the site under the same number. John approaches the desired site. It seems to him that this will be a home game. He stands at the entrance, thinking that the pet number is the same as the site number, so the game should be simple. A blue-haired guy appears behind the main character, heading to the battle. They look at each other and each one asks in his head whether he is my opponent. The site is ready, the stands are full of people, everyone is waiting for the battle to begin. A man in a yellow cap comes out onto the site and announces that he is the manager and judge of this fight. Two guys stand opposite each other, looking at their opponent in disbelief when the judge says they have no more than an hour to fight. The guy in the yellow cap says that the opponents can start fighting at any time. The rivals are ready to start the battle right now. John begins to cast magic. He is confident in his actions and does not want to lose. The main character calls upon his space as the master of beasts, and a circle with the image of a panda lights up near his hand. After this, a spinning ball appears with John's pet trapped in it. The panda appears in front of the guy and stands in full confidence that he will not lose. The other guy also activates his mojo, crossing his arms in front of him. He calls upon his Beastmaster space, and a circle with an image of an ice crocodile lights up behind him. Out of nowhere, a block of ice appears, containing the blue-haired guy's pet. An icy armored beast appears in front of him, just like the panda, ready to fight. People in the hall are watching what is happening on the fighting area. They point their fingers at the screens and say that this is another rookie fight. A girl from the crowd tells her friend to look at the screen. There will be a fight there now. A lady in a suit similar to the one the blue-haired guy is wearing recognizes him as Edward. She says that this is her classmate and he is incredibly strong. Her friend asks who is stronger of the two. The Beastmaster says that it's hard to compare, but in the whole class there are only a couple of people who could compete with him. The girl next to her points out that John also has a panda beast, like her. Edward's classmate, based on her experience raising a panda, bets that the main character will lose. She chose the panda just because they are cute. If she had the opportunity to choose another animal, then she would definitely agree, because this animal is incredibly lazy and cannot be forced to train. The blue-haired guy shouts the name of the technique to his pet so that he does what he trained before the fight. The ice-armored crocodile immediately rushes forward, attacking the panda. The judge watches everything that is happening and says that the start is good, the pet is well-trained, and this is worthy of a student from a leading school. John puts his hand forward and shouts a command for the animal to carry out. The panda uses his solidification ability, blocking the area in front of him. Icy claws cut into the panda's iron-hard paws. The ice-armored crocodile's claws break on the panda's iron armor, and the crocodile flies back and falls, screaming and crying in pain. The panda stands in the pose of a winner. He is happy with his first small victory, pleased with himself. Edward is shocked by what is happening. He does not understand how the ice claw could not withstand it. John stands full of confidence and shouts to the panda to attack his opponent. The panda immediately jumps up and flies towards the ice-armored beast. Edward panics and shouts to his pet to quickly use the ice armor. The ice-armored beast immediately uses its skill to quickly defend itself from the panda's attack. John's beast's iron hand slams into the ice armor, striking hard with incredible force. The ice beast's armor breaks into small pieces, and the crocodile is horrified by this. Edward's animal flies away under the pressure of the imperturbable panda. An ice-armored crocodile flies into the wall. Its owner stands in shock at what is happening. Edward doesn't understand how this could happen, how his pet could lose. John is happy about the victory and thinks that if he had known that the panda would perform so well, he would not have fed him to boost his morale. He did not expect that the battle would end so quickly. In order to really evaluate the fighting forces, he needed to find a more capable opponent. The judge doesn't believe in the panda's strength and his hardening skill because it's just a small level 5 animal. The girl, looking at the fight from the side, also cannot believe her eyes. It turns out that pandas are capable of mastering the skill at such a high level. A classmate thinks that John is very talented. She doubts that he is a beginner. She hopes that her classmate can handle defeat with dignity. Edward is very worried about losing, and now thinks that he belongs at school. The panda happily waves and smiles at everyone, and says to himself that none of those present got up at 4 in the morning to beat steel plates. The judge waves his hand and says that the ice beast is no longer able to fight, so John is declared the winner. The hero sends his pet into the space of the beast lords. Edward asks the winner if he is a student at the school to make sure his opponent was just lucky. John replies that he graduated from university and practiced raising animals at the base. The level of education in the suburbs where the protagonist studied is not as high as in the city, but nevertheless John defeats him, and Edward cannot understand this. The blue-haired guy thinks that his opponent is the most outstanding beastmaster he has seen, so he needs to try his best. Edward does not understand why John has already graduated, because there is still a whole month before his graduation. The judge tells him that such conditions are for graduates of combat specialties. For everyone else, this happens earlier. At this moment, the guy understands that his opponent is not even a graduate of the combat specialty. The judge asks if his pet needs medical attention and asks him to pay double the loss fee. John is quarreling with the girl at the reception. He wants to choose an opponent of a higher level. The girl explains that not everyone wants to fight an opponent below their level. She offers to provide the arena if the hero has a friend who will be willing to fight him. John has no friends at all, not to mention that anyone else would want to fight him. He says that he is going to the association and says goodbye to the girl at the reception. The Association of Beastmasters can give and pay for tasks, carefully selecting tasks for trainees. They are aimed at earning experience. Money is not a priority for John now. The main thing is to find a suitable opponent for training. If this is not found, you can look for other buildings that are suitable for training. Given the condition of the panda, the space for improving skills cannot be limited only to the house. The main character thinks that if you do the same thing every day, you can go crazy. After the battle, it was clear how happy the pet was, so his owner just had to find new training for him. John finds a mission to catch stray cats. They have created a large gang of thieves. If we take into account the fact that supernatural beings have intelligence, then the groups are quite real, but it is not clear what they are stealing. The guy understands that this task is not suitable for his pet, so he continues his search. There are a lot of tasks, but none of them are suitable for a panda. All missions are placed by people who want to hire beastmasters for a low price for some unnecessary work. The task of catching locusts seems suitable to John. The time of this mission is not limited. They probably need constant supplies. But when faced with a fast and dexterous opponent, the panda's speed may not be enough, in which case the owner should teach him the skill of supervision. The enormous strength of the Iron Eater combined with supervision will be a huge plus. Combat effectiveness should increase. John finds a mission to catch mice, but its combat power is very small, so even a man can cope with it. The main problem is that they reproduce, move, and associate quickly, so it is difficult to determine how dangerous they are. This is also a long-term mission, which is issued to several beastmasters at once. It can be used to train reflexes. The panda's speed should increase. John decides to postpone hardening training for now. Unexpectedly, he notices Edward, with whom he had recently fought. The hero waves happily at him and asks if his ice beast has recovered. The guy is very worried and tells John that everything is fine, to which he asks if Edward also came to this place for errands. The The blue-haired guy confirms the hero's guesses by asking what task John took on, suggesting that most likely it is some kind of highly paid task. John shows his task, and Edward is very surprised by this and asks if the hero is going alone. The blue-haired guy explains that for this mission, it would be better to form a team, because these animals are very cunning, so it will be much easier to work as a team. Edward very persistently offers to join John's team. The main character tries to get out of it, saying that it makes no difference if he joins. But the blue-haired guy finds a way out of this situation and offers to call 2 more people for this mission. John agrees to help the enemy he defeated, because if the rats unite, then this task will not be easy for him. Edward says he will contact 2 of his classmates tonight, and then they will have a team of 4. It turns out that the blue-haired guy wants to get closer to John in order to learn more about his training and understand how he managed to turn a lazy panda into a real fighter. The main character comes to the tonic drink store again. The saleswoman thinks that this guy comes for the 3rd time in 2 weeks. John says that there is more and more training and fighting, and he has had poor health since childhood. The salesgirl puts on the table the supplements that the guy usually buys. John and the panda eat with pleasure. The guy eats the food he prepared, and his pet eats sweet bamboo. Suddenly, the guy turns and asks the beast to come over. He wants to teach him a new skill. Panda is upset about this because he believes that strength depends only on his efforts. For some reason, he cannot utter a word. The guy teaches the panda the skill of ultravision. The sharpness of the eye will increase several times, and he will be able to see even at night. The panda will be able to activate it by spending spiritual power. The beast rubs his eyes with a smile on his face, and John is very tired from training the panda. The panda curiously leaves the house to test his new skill. The beast sees everything very clearly in the dark, just like during the day, which he is very happy about. Now it will be much more convenient for the panda to train at night. He will be able to compensate for the lack of diligence in training during the day. It now takes 48 hours to restore spiritual strength. John hopes that the pet will not break the steel tile tonight because he needs a good night's sleep. Edward sits in his room and drinks tea while writing in the group chat with an offer to go catch mice with him. Suddenly, his classmate writes to the guy saying that she recently saw him in the arena, where he lost. Edward spits out his tea in surprise. The blue-haired guy is very worried because now all his classmates will know about his loss to the first person he meets. When meeting, Edward asks the main character if he got enough sleep because he saw that he was yawning. John asks where his friends are, to which the blue-haired guy says that they will probably come up soon. Suddenly, Edward's classmate and her friend appear in front of them. They greet the guys. The guy introduces the girls. This is Kate, his classmate. And this is her friend, the mistress of the animals of their experimental school, Mary. John smiles at the girls, waves and says hello to them. The girls greet him in unison and call him an expert, and he, in turn, does not understand why they called him that. In John's ear, the blue-haired guy explains that yesterday they passed by the arena and saw their battle. Edward invites everyone to introduce themselves and starts first. His pet is an ice-shelled beast of the 6th level. It can make a roar that breaks ice and has ice armor. Kate continues. Her pet is a level 6 panda that has an entry-level hardening skill. Mary also talks about herself. Her pet is a level 6 thorn beast. It has an excellent binding skill. And finally, John talks about himself. His pet, a level 5 panda, has the skill of hardening at a deeply studied level. All 3 guys strongly doubt the sincerity of the protagonist's words. John just smiles and thinks that once they see what the 11th is capable of, then everyone will immediately understand. Edward asks the main character what specialty he studied in, since he has already graduated. John reveals that he specializes in cultivation because fighting is for brutes, and not everyone can master such a skill. And for a beast master who specializes in cultivation, it is quite expected to master the hardening skill at this level. Upon reaching their destination, the boys are greeted by a crowd of people waving and welcoming them to exterminate the village's rodents. One person from the crowd gives the 4 graduates specialized clothing. The guys change clothes and then remain in the middle of the field and do not understand where to start. John suggests summoning pets, while thinking that in such an environment, the ultravision skill will be useful. Mary and Edward summon their pets, namely the ice shell beast and the thorn beast. John and Kate also call on their animals. To be more precise, 2 pandas. Panda Kate is many times larger than 11. She looks at him with interest. Kate asks the main character if he also uses steel bamboo as the basis for his panda's food. Because his panda looks beautiful, both in color and in body, it is clear that she is absolutely healthy. The pink-haired girl reveals that there is a bamboo martial arts palace where panda beast masters are trained. The palace manager is a top-level beast master, and his panda also has the power of lightning and flame. Kate says that she considered John to be a student of this center because his panda had achieved a high level of solidification, which is given to few. The girl's panda with pink hair falls asleep while the guys talk about the owner of the panda breeding center. 11th interrupts the guys, shouting that he found a mouse. John and his pet simultaneously point to the exact location of the target. Edward looks in that direction with the help of a special device and says that, judging by the size of the mouse, it is on the 4th level, and it is also completely alone, so it must be destroyed before it discovers the guys and runs away. Mary says that mice have good vigilance, so if other pets get close to the mouse, she will see them. So she tells her animal to get closer to the target. Maybe he can wrap himself around her body. The thorn beast goes to the mouse, which immediately stops eating and pays attention to it. Mary's pet tries to catch the target, but she does not give in and tries with all her might to escape from the tenacious clutches of the beast. An icy armored crocodile stands in the way of the mouse, blocking its path. The red rat jumps high and flies over the ice crocodile, continuing its escape. Further on her way, she encounters something new, which makes her very afraid. It turns out that this is John's panda. He uses the hardening skill and tramples the poor mouse into the ground with all his might. At this moment, Mary's pet grabs the rat so that it cannot escape anywhere. The guys admire the panda's strength and compare its strength to a high-rise structure. The graduates bring a rat to the main person at this event. He in response asks to catch a flock of rats. Since they managed to catch one, Mary praises John because if not for him, the target would definitely have been able to escape. John invites the guys to split up because he needs to catch as many mice as possible to earn money. Edward agrees, because this way they can increase the rate of destruction of rats. They agree to meet at noon at the same place. The blue-haired guy clarifies that if someone meets one mouse, then you can deal with it as you wish. And if there is a flock, then the guys will call the rest, because it's more efficient to work this way. Mary challenges her friend to catch more mice than the others, but Kate replies that her panda probably won't be able to catch that many mice. The girl with pink hair thinks that Jonah the panda and her pet are completely different animals. The main character tells his animal that their goal is to catch 20 mice before lunch, but the panda is very self-confident and wants to catch 200. John says that he doesn't care how many they catch. The main thing is that the 11th does not spoil the crops and fruit trees. If a panda breaks something, not only will they not be paid, but they will be forced to pay compensation, and then they will have to cut costs on feeding the animal. John asks not to use panda hardening, because the main thing today is to train speed and reactions. 11 immediately gets to work, quickly collecting mouse after mouse. The main person at the site is surprised at such abilities. He can't even believe that this is really a panda. The panda is indignant that the owner did not teach her the skill of invisibility, so he could catch mice much faster. The man, who is writing down how many rats he has caught, asks him to catch them more slowly, so he does not have time to write down. Many people appear near John. 2 hours have already passed, and the panda does not stop working. The guy reassures people that his animal, in addition to eating, also likes to practice. Edward sees that John's panda catches one mouse every 5 minutes and does not understand how much strength the guy has, even if his panda does not get tired. The hero shows the blue-haired guy a tonic capsule, thereby explaining everything. Edward realized that even though others have better abilities, no one is dedicated to the task as much as John, which is why everyone loses to him. The main character asks the guys how many mice they caught. Edward caught 7, Mary 6. Kate looks at the others upset and complains about her pet, calling pandas stupid. 11 doesn't like that she treats all pandas with the same brush. A man collecting mice praises the panda. He has never seen such a useful pet. He caught 22 mice in 2 hours. John takes out the long-awaited food and invites the guys to eat together. The graduates sit down to have a snack while the panda continues to circle and catch mice. While John is eating food on both cheeks, Kate tells him that pandas are not so active, and this is not normal. She chose an animal for a very long time, but did not find one as energetic as John's. Without sticking his nose out of his plate, the hero asks the girl how else a panda could master the skill of hardening at a deeply studied level. The guys took a break from eating and agreed with John that they thought it was reasonable. The main character tells the guys how everything really is, when suddenly Edward jumps up and shouts that now he too will work with his pet with great persistence. Mary agrees with him. She says that tomorrow she will go to the pharmacy, buy a tonic, and work with her beast day and night. Edward learned the secret of John's training, and now he will try it on himself. He is sure that he will succeed. The blue-haired guy asks the main character if he will participate in the certification of beast lords, and since his specialty is cultivation, will he take the exam to become a cultivation mentor? John says that despite the cultivation specialty, he wants to take the warrior specialty. Edward thinks that in order to pass the certification, it is necessary that the pets have unprecedented combat abilities. It will be very difficult for their pets to reach level 10 in 6 months, so it is better to participate another time. John says that if he doesn't pass the test this time, then next time they could go together. The guys are surprised by what was said, because it is unlikely that he will be able to reach the desired level in 6 months. John doesn't care how many difficulties they face in order to move to the superiority level, but moving to the 10th level will not be a problem. If the main character fails to reach the desired level, then he can take a workaround. Guys, let me know if John is talking about that special certification where you can skip levels. Edward thinks that the main character thinks much further than him, so he definitely lost. He needs to increase the intensity of training for his pet. At a certain moment, all four hear some strange sound. Suddenly, the loudspeaker starts screaming about the approach of wild animals. People run away in horror wherever they look. The number of wild animals behind the wall increases. Edward and Mary are shocked by what is happening. They did not expect that this could happen. The mouse inspector reports that the situation is very dangerous and asks the guys to return as a lady as soon as possible. Edward asks what this signal means. The man is not sure, because this is his first time encountering this. Perhaps the animals from the snowy mountains are unhappy again. But the signal is very serious. John tries to soberly assess the situation from the outside, thinking that it is not time to panic, because a large wall has been erected around the villages. People from the Association of Beastmasters work in the urban area. They are their main protection. Perhaps there is no real danger. And if the animals really could break through the wall, then there would clearly be something more serious than such a warning. Edward offers to go have a look, but Kate refuses in every possible way because her pet is very weak to fight. John says that it would be best to leave. They can come here again to catch rodents. It is more important to go to the association and find out what this signal means. The man at the reception replies that he doesn't really know about this signal, but this is not the first time in the last month. Previously, there was a blue warning twice, and now it's yellow. Another person appears out of nowhere. He greets Kate and Edward. This is their teacher, Daniel. It turns out that he was nearby, saw the guy's correspondence in the chat, and decided to come take a look. John looks at everything from the outside and does not understand why these two communicate in a chat where there is a teacher. Daniel asks who the other guys are. Edward replies that they are his friends from other schools. The teacher clarifies whether the children's bewilderment is related to the warning, and they ask him to tell him more about it. Following the guys out, John thinks that staying in the suburbs is not safe, and he needs to go to the city with his pet. The guys and Daniel go out into the street, and he begins his story about the alarm. The area around the snowy mountains is well guarded. If danger really appears, the association will quickly react. If the forces are not enough, then they will call the regional beastmasters. And if these forces are not enough, visitors from neighboring cities will join in. Edward worries that the animals might turn against people again, but Daniel reassures him that they are just a small pack of wild animals. John gets into the conversation and says that the urban area is better suited for animals, so they come here because of competition and the fight for food. Perhaps this is not the main reason, but the obsessions of animals are repeated more than once, and this is not as unexpected as it was 10 years ago. Daniel agrees with the main character, but the reason is still unknown. What made the animals go into conflict? This is an unsolved mystery. The teacher says that perhaps the answer is in the Ice City and asks the children if they know the story about it. The guys are looking forward to Daniel's story about the Ice City. Daniel says that one day an ice dragon flew in and froze all the mountains. The guys ask him who won. He says that most likely the tribe living in these mountains. There are remains of an ice dragon on the mountain. It is said that its bones are sealed inside. Perhaps that sealed dragon has turned into a spirit, and it is he who calls the doors on the snowy mountain. The guys are very scared when they hear about the existence of the dragon. This is what archaeologists managed to find. Perhaps the stone giant was the totem of that people. John suggests that with the help of it, the ancient lords fought the dragon. Someone tells the main character that everything was wrong. The guy is scared and does not understand whose voice it is. It seems to John that this is the voice of the stone statue near which the guys were just standing. The guy worries that he has gone crazy because the statue cannot talk. John is pulled out of his thoughts by Mary, who is worried about him. He tries to hide the truth by saying that the statue is very beautiful, and that's why he was staring at it. Apparently, the guys didn't hear what John heard. He again plunges into his thoughts. The guy realizes that the voice definitely cannot come from the statue, because it does not look like a living creature. John worries that the statue might have acquired a spirit, and imagines himself running away from it. Daniel tells the guys that he still has work to do and it's time for him to go. The teacher leaves, asking the graduates not to worry, because in case of danger, the Beast Lords will be able to protect everyone. Edward invites the guys to continue catching mice, but John refuses. The main character also has something to do. He needs to go. One of the guys offers to have a snack, but John quickly leaves them. Edward realizes that he did not take contact from his new friend, and will not be able to contact him in any way. Arriving home, John begins to study books. The history of the world is divided into eras of myths, totems, and beast lords. In the era of myths, according to legends, mythical creatures appeared who ruled this world. In the era of totems, people appeared. They tried to survive in territories owned by stronger creatures. In the era of the overlords, people began to tame animals. John downloads information about the alliance of overlords on the computer. The history of the world of animal masters is divided into 3 stages, but there are many gaps in it. John was very exhausted from searching for the information he needed. Unfortunately, he could not find what he needed. In a past life, the hero was an archaeologist. But for some reason, he came across a mythical system, and since then, he began to study mythology. Then, the study of the mythical system together with his teacher became everyday life for him. He plunged headlong into research, but the mountain range collapsed and buried him alive. After an accident, John was placed in this body. The guy is disappointed by this and regrets that he didn't do something else, because curiosity ruins people. Now the hero finds himself in a dangerous world. His only desire is to be in a comfortable and safe place. John decides that now he will live only for his own pleasure. Although there are many incomprehensible things in the history of this world, it has its own system and will no longer take the old path. At night, John returns to the statue, wanting to find out what is really going on. The hero asks him in a whisper if he spoke to him this afternoon. The guy clarifies whether he refuted what the man was saying. The statue is silent and does not answer. John threatens him with his departure. The hero does not know what the story really was, and this greatly fuels his interest. John really wants to know what the true story was. The guy shouts at the statue, asking him to tell him if he can find out the truth. Suddenly, the eyes of the statue begin to glow. The ground around shakes. John does not understand what is happening. The face of the sculpture cracks. Rays of light pour out of the cracks. John looks in horror towards the statue. Something happened. The sculpture has broken into small pieces. Dust and crumbs are all scattered in all directions, and a bright purple beam of light comes out from the center of the structure. John is very worried about what he did, because he came to the statue primarily out of curiosity. The guy runs away from the crime scene in fear. People are panicking. They think that animals have attacked the city. They don't understand why there is no news. People passing by try not to stress themselves out. Perhaps it's just social unrest. The secretary comes to the chairman's office and asks what happened. She says that other regions also sensed something was wrong. The chairman himself doesn't really know. If everything is as he thinks, then it's okay. John feeds his panda with fear so that he will grow up quickly and become stronger in order to protect the 2 of them. It seems that the 11th does not mind at all because he really loves to eat. The main character regrets destroying the statue and decides to stay home until he finds out what happened. John feeds not only the panda, but also his second pet, Silkworm. The next day, the guy instructs his little insect to train with the panda. The silkworm's threads can be used as arrows, but so far it cannot even pierce clothing. Panda and John's little pet are training together. 11 is training his speed, and the silkworm is trying to shoot arrows. The main character supports his animals, and during their training he goes out to get food. People are worried about the noise at night. No one knows what it was. The Overlords Association is closed today. John hopes that no one will look into the matter of the destroyed statue and that he will not be found. The chance is small because cameras are not installed in this world, and there was no one near him at that moment.